Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that every single day celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such a great place to live, work, and play. Hey, in just a second, we're going to be visiting with Kenny Holloway, the mayor of Ocean Springs, but I want to share a quote that I came across. This is actually from a guy by the name of Ralph Ellison. He was born on March 1st, 1913. He was an African-American writer, literary critic, and scholar. And he wrote a book called The Invisible Man that was really awarded back in 1953. And in fact, I came to understand about him as I read about his past that, according to the New York Times, Barack Obama actually modeled his 1995 memoir after one of the novels that Ellison wrote called Dreams from My Father. But anyway, he said this, and I think it's powerful. It's actually about power. Ralph Ellison said this: power doesn't have to show off. When you have it, you know it. There's a statement there about humility and sort of understanding your position in life. Some people abuse power. Some people, you never know they have it. They use it in unique ways. But power doesn't have to show off. When you have it, you know it. Here's a man who was writing back in a long time ago, and came to appreciate that was an important point that he wanted to make through much of his writing. Anyway, we're going to move now to my friend Kenny Holloway, the mayor of Ocean Springs. It's been a while since we visited, and I always enjoy checking in with Kenny. So without any further ado, let me say good morning to my friend Kenny Holloway. How you doing, Kenny?
Good, Ricky. How are you doing? Good morning to you.
I'm doing really, really good. So how's life for you these days, Kenny?
It's moving. We've got a lot going on in Ocean Springs. I'm currently up in Jackson at the Capitol, and it's time for appropriations. So we like to spend a little time up here with our wish list and see how that goes by the time they convene here.
So you're still focused on infrastructure plans in Ocean Springs and things like that. What in addition to that are you thinking about these days?
Well, we're still working on some ongoing projects. Yep, we've received a Restore Act grant for about $8 million worth of work in downtown, water, sewer, some rehabilitation, which is very important. It's the oldest part of town. And we still, working forward with our redevelopment authority. Got some GCRF requests in for that also. And then our Front Beach Marina and Event Center is very popular with the community too. So that's the main, the big ticket items we're working on. I try to spend a fair amount of time up here building relationships. And we've done big successful. We've got a great delegation, a leadership delegation from Jackson County in both sides, both chambers. So we're very fortunate in South Mississippi.
Yeah, you really are. Just for people who don't know about this, one of the first things that you did when you came to Ocean Springs is to really focus on it's not the sexy stuff, but it's the important stuff from an infrastructure point of view that enables future economic development. And unlike places like Biloxi, where your brother was mayor for so many years, after Katrina had just hundreds of millions of dollars of infrastructure improvements, Ocean Springs didn't get the same benefit. So you've had to work a little bit harder to, it wasn't going to come from the Katrina funds, but it was going to come from other funds. And you've done a good job of tapping into that. But there were very significant infrastructure needs in the city, and you wanted to get focused on that immediately because you realized that it was going to be sort of the calling card for other economic development you wanted to do. So give people a sense of that assessment and how much money you need to spend, et cetera.
We need about $30 million worth of immediate infrastructure fund injection. We should be able to, with the ARPA, get somewhere around $18 million if everything matches and appropriations from the popping up in Jackson happens. The county has agreed to match us dollar for dollar, and we're taking those dollars and asking the legislature to match them too. So it'll be right at about $18 million. So that'll get us moving in the right direction. We've
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
We've got a lot of possibilities for growth And I remember when I was first elected, and I came out of a meeting, and the guy who heads up our sewer department for the city, he stopped me outside. He said, Mayor, he said, I know you want to grow the city, and you talk about growing the city out to the east. He said, if you do that, you're just going to choke our current infrastructure out there as far as treating and handling the sewer. So, that kind of made me step back and think a little bit. We've got to really kind of pump the brakes on a little bit of this stuff and really get prepared for the future. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get us in a place that in 25 years, obviously I won't be here, but the city won't have any hiccups in growing.
Yeah. Again, it's not the sexy thing, but it will stop. It will stop future growth if you don't focus on the kind of infrastructure that enables future growth. And Julian Rankin and I talked about this yesterday, and I've talked with numerous leaders about it over the course of the last several years, including you. But Ocean Springs is going through a renaissance right now, and it's that's a wonderful thing to have. But at the same time, if you don't have the infrastructure to support that renaissance, it can be you have to be really careful about how development occurs right now, and I'm sure that's probably the most top of mind item for you these days, isn't it?
It is. We had to put a moratorium on apartments, so we've kind of pumped the brake on that. We're revamping our short-term rental program and trying to figure out what's going to happen with that, because we have some hotel proposals on the boards too, and you never want to get I think you got to try to control the growth, because especially in the short-term rental, people are all about it right now, but as these hotels pop up, then that business is going to struggle a little bit, and can the owners keep up with the properties and keep them in shape? So it's a tough balancing act. We have three things that I say right now makes the city work really good, and it's what makes Ocean Springs what it is. It's the downtown area, our hospital system, our medical system, and the school system. So we've got to make sure all three of those can sustain, and because that's what people want to come to Ocean Springs.
Yeah, it's there's another thing I'd add to it. It's sort of a bedroom community that wants to be a tourism destination. And the magic is in finding where's the balance between those two things. But that's a conflicting objective, isn't it?
It is. First and foremost, you got to protect downtown because it's really unique and what people want to come see. And I hope you got down there to see the Christmas lights, which were a big hit. But it's a balancing act, and we've got to make sure we grow, but we got to protect what makes Ocean Springs special, and that's it's kind of different.
Hey, let's don't skip past that. Actually, we came down for dinner, my family and I. I tell you what, why don't we do this? We're coming to the end of the segment. I'll tell you what our experience was about the Christmas lights. And I also posted something about it, and it has been viewed thousands of times. And I'll tell you why I think that is when we get on the other side. We'll see you with Mayor Kenny Holloway from Ocean Springs after this break. Welcome back to Coast Vue. I have Mayor Kenny Holloway from the city of Ocean Springs. And let me do a shout out to Representative Hank Zuber, who was on the show recently. He actually made his office available to the mayor who's in Jackson. Understandably connecting with his delegation and others so they can stay focused on what the funding needs are for Ocean Springs. So thank you, Hank, for enabling Kenny to use your office. Hey, when we went to break, you said, I hope you saw the Christmas lights. Man, did I, more than once. If you go back into history, people wanted to do something like this before, but people said, no, we're not going to do it. I think some were concerned about the trees, and there were other reasons, but it never happened. You enabled it. And what resulted was, imagine these beautiful live oaks in downtown Ocean Springs wrapped in these white lights well into the branches. Each branch could be the size of a tree. These are incredibly old and beautiful oak trees that survived Hurricane Katrina. But this beautiful sort of, festive drive that you take underneath that tunnel of lights coming into downtown was just so impressive, man. And my daughter, actually, in the car behind us or in front of us, I can't remember exactly where she was positioned. She stuck her phone out the window and took this video driving down the downtown. And I posted it on the Coast Vue site. And literally, I'm not kidding you. It was the last I checked, it was like 10,000 times it had been viewed, and people just loved watching that video. We had dinner downtown and then walked around. But man, there was, it just brought something new to the city, and it didn't happen for no other reason than you enabled it to happen, and you were proud of that, weren't you?
Well, it was me and two of the girls that work with me at City Hall. We were walking downtown one day, and I said, we talked about this, and a buddy of mine talked about it with me before I was married. We ought to wrap these oak trees in lights, and so we stopped in a couple of businesses. Hillier House, one of them, and she helped instigate, help move the project along. And what do you think about this? And everybody loved it. And so the community bought into it. You can sponsor a tree, and that helped. It turned into be a bigger financial burden than we anticipated, but I think it was money well spent. And we'll do it again next year. Kind of create that hallmark moment, and we're going to get a little better jump start on it next year. People wanted us to leave them up all year long, but they weren't going to last. I mean, we'd be replacing lights, and squirrels would be eating through the wires. It's just, and then, we could be restricting the growth of the trees, and we never want to do that.
No, you don't, but it's fine. There's plenty of precedents across America where that same scenario is played out, and it's terrific. I bet, it might have cost you more than you expected, but I bet the multiplier effect that came from that economically for the businesses and restaurants downtown had to have been incredible. And you mentioned Hillier House, Paige Riley. I had her on recently. And that when you think about that dynamic story that started out in Pass Christian and after Katrina evolved over into Ocean Springs, and Paige's commitment to the community and so on, that's another show that has been viewed well over 1,000 times. People just love connecting with these stories, these iconic stories that are part of coastal Mississippi. And you're lucky to have the Hillier House right there in downtown Ocean Springs, aren't you?
We are. We're lucky to have a lot of businesses, but Paige is very engaged in the community, and what a great story. I listen to that myself, and Paige is always like a lot of businesses downtown. Whenever we have something that we're trying to do special, they roll up their sleeves and they get involved in it too. So it's a great small business atmosphere in downtown Ocean Springs. No,
it is. And listen, speaking of that, actually, you do a good job of connecting with the business community. One of the areas where, because you can't, again, I say this about a lot of the mayors of coastal Mississippi, you had success in your business. You didn't necessarily have to be mayor, but this is a city you were raised in. You wanted to give back. You spent a lot of time watching your brother, A.J. Holloway, in Biloxi, learned a lot from him. And so now you got elected, you're in that seat, and you can now give back to your community. One of the first things you wanted to do around this development authority is create something where you could listen to the business community, formulate something that would give you a really solid planning ability going forward, so you could make. You're just not making decisions serendipitously. They're being made within the guise of a vision for the city, and that's come together pretty well, hasn't it?
I tell you, I'm really fired up about the group of people that we've selected on that. It's I've never been a friends and family kind of appointment guy, or it's a good old boy type of appointment. I always try to find the smartest people and put them in the spots that they can help us with. And we've got a great, diverse group of folks there, and I'm excited about what they're going to be able to bring to Ocean Springs. We're in the process of a couple of things: annexation, which is controversial, and a comprehensive plan, redoing our comprehensive plan, and that's part of the redevelopment authority with the urban renewal part of it. And So anyway, it's exciting. There's going to be, we've hired an engineer that's going to work on relocating the Public Works property where Public Works is now. That's going to be 13 and a half acres of prime real estate right on the edge of downtown that I've got some ideas, and we've talked to the board, and the board are on board with it. I'm not sure I can share it right now, but it hadn't been formalized. But along with what's going on in the old Swingster plant, that's a $32 million investment that some local business people are investing in. Generational transformation projects that are going to happen that, like I said, in 25 years, people will be able to look back, and that's what you really want. You want people to look back in 25 years and say, those were good years for Ocean Springs. They really moved the city forward and made some positive decisions. And that's what I want. I think that's what the board wants, and that's what the administration wants,
Hey, Kenny, you made me think of something. I had the opportunity to work very closely with Governor Haley Barbour after Katrina. In fact, I was honored to write the foreword to his book on Katrina. And in the special session right after Hurricane Katrina, he said something that I will never forget. I will just never forget. And he said this: in 30 years, what will our kids and our kids' kids say of us? Will they say that we got it right, or the opposite? So this notion of the work that you're doing as a public servant, it usually isn't in the here and now, although you're making some decisions in the here and now, like, for example, putting lights and trees that bring more to the festive environment of downtown Ocean Springs. But a lot of decisions you're making, some may not come to fruition for 10, 15, 20 years down the road. It's having that vision, but it's understanding that as a public servant, you are literally doing generational work. And what do you want your kids and your kids' kids to say of you? And that's a powerful image to think about it that way. But more than once, you said that you realize that you're doing generational work, and you're really focused on that, aren't you?
I am. We are. It's an old town. French settlement. Fofo may disagree with me, but it's the original French settlement, and which that's a whole nother subject. We have a great relationship with all the mayors on the coast right now, which is probably unprecedented. It really is, and I'm thankful to be part of that too. But we've got to take our niche, what we do well, work on it, fine tune it, and I told somebody the other day, we don't have a casino, we don't have a Chevron, we don't have an Ingalls, we don't have that big tax generator. So tourism is our tax generator. And I told somebody the other day, if it wasn't for what was going on in Biloxi, Gulfport, Goshen, Pascagoula, Long Beach, we wouldn't be able to take advantage of that tourism because the people wouldn't be here for us to take advantage of the tourism. So it really is a unique time, I think, for the Gulf Coast.
And Kenny, that's one of the reasons why this collaborative approach, leadership approach that you and the Board of Supervisors in Jackson County have taken is so cool to watch. They understand that the economy in Jackson County is multifaceted. You've got Ingalls and Chevron and all the outgrowth that comes from that is for sure. But if you really want to tap into the tourism and hospitality piece, all the cities of Jackson County certainly bring something to the table as it relates to that, but none more than Ocean Springs. And their willingness to work with you, they get that. I thought that their leadership that they used on the recent dust up at the Coastal Mississippi Tourism was terrific. That having the leaders that they have now representing Jackson County on that board have been a step in the right direction. But watching that collaboration between the city and Jackson County board, where you're not having to fight and tear your way, through every conversation, but you have a supportive group, that's awesome to see. And congratulations on that. Hey, Kenny, we're out of time, but it's been a pleasure catching up with you. Good luck up there in Jackson.
Thank you, Ricky. We're working hard and trying to do the right thing.
That was Mayor Kenny Holloway from the city of Ocean Springs. We'll see you after this break.